I'm 20 years old and I'm sitting in the window seat of a plane that's flying over the Italian Alps. I look out the window and from my vantage point as the darkness creeps up into the night sky, all I can see is the beautiful snow-capped tops of the mountains as we fly over the Swiss Alps and then into the Italian Alps, heading towards Torino in the north of Italy. This is my first trip to a foreign country by myself. And so as I look out that window, I have a mixed feeling of both excitement and nervousness. I'm supposed to be meeting a friend at Turin airport, and the plan is to take a train from there down to Nice in the south of France, where we're going to spend a few days hanging out before flying back to England for my exchange program. The plane descends, getting closer and closer to the tops of those mountains, and finally we break free of the mountains and land. By the time we get off the plane, it's about 9 o'clock, and as I walk out of the arrivals hall with my baggage, I expected to see my friend, but she's not there. And I immediately have that sense of dread that you sometimes get when instantly you know that something's wrong, but secretly you're hoping that something's actually going to turn out okay. I wait for 15 minutes and then 20 and half an hour, and still my friend hasn't shown up. This is back in the days before mobile phones. In fact, it's back in the days before email was really adopted by everyone, and certainly before it was easy to use email. I look around the airport for somewhere where I might be able to send an email to find out where my friend is, but it's late and everything's closed. And so I make my way to the only place I figure I can get some help, which is the information desk. There's a beautiful Italian woman sitting there, probably about my age, and I ask her if she speaks English, and she does. And it's funny because this is my very, very first experience by myself in a foreign speaking country interacting with a local. And I ask if there's any other exits. No. So clearly my friend hasn't shown up and I have to work out what it is I'm going to do. The information desk agent helps me to book a hotel room down in the centre of Turin so that hopefully the following morning I'm able to work out this situation. The hotel's going to cost me 100,000 lira, which was about 90 Australian dollars back then. An absolute fortune for a university student and a backpacker like me. But I have no choice. I then have to take a taxi down into Turin, which is another 40,000 lira. And by the time I get there, I'm feeling pretty upset and lonely, because this is literally the first time I've stayed in a hotel by myself. I get into my room and suddenly I have this feeling of excitement because I've managed it. I've actually managed to get into a foreign country, in a non-English speaking country, work out some hotel accommodation and get there all by myself. It's funny that now as an experienced traveller, something like that would have had such a marked impact on me. But we all begin somewhere. We all have our very first experience, even if it's something that later on we come to do tens of times, hundreds of times, or even thousands of times. The next morning I wake up, I try to work out the situation with my friend, but I can't even find an internet cafe in this part of Turin. So finally I decide, well, we said we we're going to meet in Nice. I guess maybe I should take the train to Nice. And so I buy myself a ticket, once again managing somehow to explain where I want to go. And I take the train a few hours from Turin down onto the Mediterranean coast and into France. This is my second country that I've been into in just a couple of days where I don't speak the language and I'm still all alone. I haven't got any accommodation booked, so now I need to work out what I'm going to do, because I certainly can't afford to be spending $90 or $100 a night, and this is back in the early 2000s, so in today's money that ends up being a heck of a lot more. And I decide that I need to find the youth hostel. And so I wait patiently at the information centre. Eventually I find out where the youth hostel is, and unfortunately it's not exactly in the centre of Nice. Nice is a beautiful city right on the Mediterranean. It's got an amazing coastline, and it's got a beautiful promenade down along the Mediterranean coast with incredible buildings that look out over a really beautiful crystal blue Mediterranean sea. It's the kind of place that really lifts your heart away. And even though I'm alone, I'm starting to feel more comfortable here. Because I figure as long as I don't need to talk to anyone, because I don't speak any French, I'm going to be okay. I can still enjoy myself here. So all I need to do is to find the youth hostel, so at least I have somewhere to stay. But the youth hostel, it's not located anywhere near the information centre. Unfortunately, it's high up on a hill and requires you to take a bus. Not the challenge when you don't speak the language and you don't have any money, because at this time, this was before the European Union. And so I had Italian lira from Italy, I had British pounds, and now I'm going to need some French francs in order to work all of this stuff out and to figure out the bus. I find a money changer, change some money, and then go looking for this mysterious bus to take me up the hill. I get lucky. I'm waiting at the bus stop, and there beside me is an Asian girl, probably about my age, who starts to speak to me in some broken English. And she speaks French. And with her help, I'm able to work out where the bus is going and when I need to get off. So finally I settled into my youth hostel, and it's a really great youth hostel in the end. I meet some people and have a great couple of days in France. I never managed to connect with my friend again. I'm sending her emails and she says, I'm staying in this particular place. And I call that accommodation to ask them if she's there, but she's not there. And eventually I just give up. And I just decide, well, I've managed to make it this far. I'm just going to enjoy my time here in Nice. At the end of a couple of great days in Nice, I take the train back to Turin and head back to the airport in the evening to take my flight back to the UK, where I'm going to be restarting my exchange program in Oxford. I'm really proud of myself. I'm excited because it's the first time that I've had an international trip to a non-English speaking country by myself. And not only have I managed to succeed, but I've actually enjoyed myself too. And I head back to that information desk where I first made the booking. And funnily enough, that beautiful Italian girl is there again. And when we start to have a little bit of a chat and I explain what I've been doing the last few days, she looks at me and she says,
"Oh, you could have stayed with me. Make sure you come back to Italy to see me sometime, okay?"
And suddenly it occurs to me that in my stress of having arrived in Italy by myself and trying to work out everything, I hadn't even noticed that she'd been flirting with me when we first met a couple of days earlier. I'm back in Italy about 20 years after that first experience. And I've now been here many times for work. But what's been funny is that every time I've flown in here, I've always looked out that window. And rather than seeing snow-capped mountains and feeling excited, I felt this like knot of anxiety. And I've realized that it's because of that first experience, those first moments here where I stood in the airport in Turin and suddenly realized that my friend wasn't coming. I was going to be all alone. I had to figure this out all by myself. And I know that there are lots of things like that in my life. Lots of these moments from the past where I've been anchored on a particular feeling, a particular emotion, a particular moment in time. And those moments in time from the past, well, they flavour the present. They can impact a magical experience, a magical time in the present because of something that happened all those years ago. And I know just how critical it is to be able to let those things go. And so now, having spent the last 3 weeks travelling around Italy, and finally feeling comfortable with the food and the culture and the country itself, I can't wait to be seeing more of this amazing place and enjoying much more of the present tense. I'll see you next time on The Morning Walk. Thanks for joining me. I'm Rob Malicki.